Alright, hello everyone, and welcome back. Now, this is my second time recording this, mainly because the first time the audio tracks were slightly messed up, so when I played it didn't have audio, even though it actually had audio. Basically, if you're doing anything with OBS and you don't want to do editing for the video, or go through it and change the audio pattern, export it, and then just set everything to be on audio track 1. If that makes sense. Anyway, so what will this video be about? Well, this video will be about problems I see with War Thunder. That'll be in the second half of the video. The first half will be my current experience with War Thunder and what I have personally experienced in War Thunder. First of all, I've been playing War Thunder since when my Gudgeon account was registered in 2018, so quite some time ago. And I've got about 2,300 hours in the game, off the top of my head. So quite a bit of experience, but not too much. Quite a decent bit of it was free to play, which will go over to my general experience. So I naturally started off playing War Thunder as Germany, as someone would do in 2018. That Drew was slightly different by then, and I ended up rushing during the first year, rushing I believe the Tiger H1. I think I did that rush in like arcade mode as well. Service record. But yeah. Like today H1 is 64 battles in arcade mode. Few in other vehicles as well. But it was mainly Tiger H1 that we were doing arcade mode. Like I rushed for the Tiger H1, played a few games and realised, hang a minute, I only had the Tiger and that's not really the way to go, so I took a 1 year break. I don't know if it was because of the thing, but probably because of the 1 year break is the reason why I don't have the Panther 2, Tennessee Tiger, and the Black Pants. These vehicles, which are less paper tank than the Hurries, which I don't know if they've actually been removed. No, they have not. Yeah, these are less paper tanks. I think they should also be removed. Like, remove the Hurley production, but wait for me to actually grind it to that point. Anyway, so no matter what time I upload, I will keep getting better. I should just upload out in the middle of the record anyway. So after that, I went back, rewrote everything to about, I think it was 6-7-ish, maybe 7-7. I'm not entirely sure. Same with the USSR. I started grinding, I think it was around, well, this maybe 55 I removed 57. Which was slightly different where I got to that point off. I decided to mainly grind Germany until the next sale, as I decided I will be getting a premium, and that was in like what? I'm just going to purchase history, short purchases. Fun fact about the trainer purchases, they show you the price of which you bought at the current price of it. So yeah, when I came back in about 2019-2020, I used the bonus starter pack. I think it was 2020 when I came back. Yeah, I can see the activation from the US bonus starter pack, which is how I have this one. Then I got the IS-6 in 2022, and I played quite a lot of the IS-6. That got me to like 7-7 and a bit, past 7-7 to 8-3, but from them, for the USSR, that was mainly stock grind. Then around, same 2022, but like, yeah, Christmas time, a friend of mine brought me the Between 3 SPSK, which I grinded 20 hours. Which, if we go to the service record, IS-6, very much my most used vehicle, just in general. And Between 3 SPSK is my most used by the quickly ammo. I do like Between 3 ammo. A few other planes that I've used slightly frequently. So, about that time I didn't really get any other premiums, not about, 2025, October around the anniversary event, I got the midway frame roll and played quite a bit of it during the event. Honestly, I do like the midway frame roll. Both air things I only play in arcade mode, so I don't really have anything other than to say about realistic mode is that I don't like multiple spawns. No, I like the multiple spawns. I would like realistic to have at least 3 spawns. As arcade mode, I found more fun, and that's why I can continue playing. Love the amount of stuff you get in realistic, but this is something completely different. So, played a decent bit of that. Then, around about this last Christmas, I got Left 2A4 Swiss and the Swiss FAAD, which was these two. As I figured I might as well. As at that point in time, I did go back to Germany instead of to US years, go back and forth between the two. And F18C, as the SPSK is not really the best play. From my experience, like, yeah, it's able to do quite well, but now, days every time I play it, it's a bit pain. And I can have more high tier, and I can also do gas. And as for the army, I'm able to do okay because I think I was at like 908. Or 80-ish. I think it was 809 with this terrible BR range where Germany suffers. Then, I can find it. 2026, and I believe it was the Flats and the May sale. I got the money which 280 as I figured I pretty much reached the M2 and I wanted to find USA, and I don't really like this BR with USA. I started playing a bit more 6-7 games of USA, and 6-7 is kind of fun for nations, I'll be completely honest. Most nations have something fun at 6-7, which is why I think 6-7 is the best BR. And with the HCI you get to like wait to the trophies and stuff like that. We got that on sale. The reason why not the clickbait is because between the two you have extra stuff at the top, like a bit more painful, so I just decided, you know what, might as well go for the new HCI. I still don't know if that one was on sale at the time. I think I might as well go with that one. It's effectively the same vehicle with slightly extra stuff. Also, an actual decent camera that was not the original like the newest ones, which you should not get, with the controversy about that. Yeah, the speak with your wallet and your mouth. That's kind of how you get things to change. Anyway, now as for this sale, I'm not going to be getting anything. So, over the course of 2,000 plus hours, I haven't really reached top tier air in any of the nations, but that's because I'm mainly playing arcade. At the same time, around Christmas time, I also got years worth of premium using the GE stuff, so that was great. But yeah, all of that said, my thoughts. The first thing and the most important thing is about the problems of Warfare. And I think the first problem I will get into is the grind. And I've alluded to this before, 2,000 hours over the course of 8 years. Or more. And I've only reached top tier 1 nation, and I haven't even grinded full tension now. Last of the time I did some math, found some things, about 600 hours for USSR, USA, Germany, across the branch. There are about 3 branches total, so that's 600 times 3, 1800 hours for USSR to get everything. Germany and USA, as well as Great Britain, and stuff, and a few others. But all that math went to about 1600 hours. Also 1600 hours without Cryptum, and about 800 hours. Sorry, there's 1600. Is this 1600? No, it's not 1600. It's 16,000. So 1,600 hours to complete War Thunder. If you do 3 hours a day, 200 days a week. Sorry, 200 days a year. If you divide 16,000 hours by that, you get 26 years. Okay, let's say you do 3 hours, 3 days, 300 days a week. That's quite a lot. That's 17 years. Now with premium, we pay a lot more one, or actually a bit. We go back to 200, and we divide that by 2. That's still 13 years, and more days, more hours. It's 8 years, so that's still an insane amount of time, and that is an insane amount of hours to actually grind and complete Warfire. Like 600 hours to get Warfare without any premium time. Premium vehicles, I think, make it quicker, so you can make it quicker. But with just premium time, it's 8,000 hours, and I think 8,000 hours should be the default grind to complete Warfare. Once you have 8,000 hours in the game, you should have everything done. I'm sorry about that, that's just not the case. And the premium time grind should be about 400 hours. Now, how could you achieve this? You could buff, let's say, earnings and everything. But I think the best way is just a 50% reduction of RP cost. Now with SL, you also do a 50% reduction on SL cost just globally. Why 50% reduction on like hard price? Well, you have this. That is, I think, the best way of getting the effect of just halving the amount of time it takes to get everything done. Because you could, let's say, up rewards, change rewards. You can do that later, but by reducing the RP cost, you can say like just globally, you'll get everything done in half the time if you half the cost of everything. So that's my suggested fix. We're going half the cost of RP and half the cost of SL for each vehicle. Another thing that I think, okay, you don't want to reduce the cost, but I think should be removed, is crew cost. Now, 300,000 SL for crew, 32,000 on the higher tier vehicles is 320,000. It's absolutely insane. You might think, oh, but that's how long it takes to train a crew. It's not really. Like, that should be like you should be like, what? It should not be more than 100k for like the top tier vehicles. And the reason why I say that is simple. Yes, maybe if you train a crew from scratch, but this is not the same. This is a crew that has experience from what? Level 60, these level 63s from like level reserve tier all the way to here. So like if I have a crew on level 24, the difference between level 24 and level 27 is very similar. With the surveys is even more like level the T64, T72s, T55, T70 BVM, so it's also very similar, and that's kind of why it shouldn't cost as much for these vehicles. Like maybe the transition period to Carnival would be the big jump up. You go from for Germany, you go from Panthers to Leopards. Yes, I would say that's when they'll be like 6,000 or 60,000 crew cost or whatever. But crew costs are actually ridiculous. Why? Because it's got so much to change your crew of a vehicle that you end up playing the same vehicles. You end up having the same maps. You don't end up switching them for a new vehicle when it costs the same as like a rank. What rank? I think it's rank 4. Yeah, rank 4 vehicles, maybe even rank 5. Rank 5 vehicles to actually crew these vehicles at like rank 6 or 7. Absolutely insane. The cost of the crew. And I don't think that's something that should be changed, as well as the RP and the thing to reduce grind. Now, that's the first of the big problems. The second is map types and how enjoyable maps are. So, my suggested solution for arcade and realistic have more objective-based ones. They tried to bring back Nuclear Thunder, but they absolutely butchered it. This is also from the perspective of, let's say, a guy who needs to fix these changes, and how would they fix them if I was in charge of Belgium? Or would they have to change leadership and decide to fix it? Anyway, arcade, I guess arcade it can be fun in dogfights because it's actually fun, but for realistic there's a lack of objectives. For arcade, I think bombers still have quite a bit, but bombers still have a very bad time. And you could add some objectives for bombers for arcade, but for realistic, I think they should have the number of bombers. Now, for Grand Realistic and Grand Simulator battles, I think we should introduce a new type of game battle. Now for arcade, I think the capture point is fine, and for realistic, you can still have the capture point. But for these two, you have something that I would call campaign mode. I guess it's not really campaign mode, it's more operation. Operation. We'll call it operation. Operation mode. So you have Operation Realistic Battles, Operation Simulated Battles. Now this would be something that Gaijin would implement, just like the basic version. An operation would work similar to that of like Sim, where you have a certain number of vehicles that you can like select a section of vehicles based on the certain ranges, but also vehicles that would historically match made. They would have a much wider range though. So it won't be VR, it'll be more like sim-based VR matchmaking for realistic. So it's more realistic, but you have the wide range of vehicles of like, I guess for World War II, Germany, Japan, Italy can be on either side, France being either side, Sweden can be on either side. This France might be depending on the war with the Allies, and you have Allies versus Axis and things like that. And you can also have Cold War era where it's USSR and China, the two halves of Germany that you can play as. I think that's generally the nations for that, for the Cold War thing. And you have like operations. And now, how would operations work? So it's a bit more, not fully stringent like simulated battles, but it's like a bit more realistic based matchmaking. You'll have Germany fighting Germany. And you still have, like, let's say, the lineups of vehicles that you can use. You can use a 1.0 lineup in higher VR version, so it's not like fully restricted like current simulated battle matchmaking. Well, I'm going to use Tunisia as the example, as I think that's the best example I can use for this. So, this is the Battle to Tunisia 9.7 Plus. Now, this will be like a little VR, I guess, version of it. You will probably have to modify quite a bit the map and make it slightly bigger. Firstly, the map will end at like B and G, between B and G, and you will have to change the roads a bit to have like a road going from there to there. So that will be more wide? Yeah, more wide in the number of space instead of like tall. I guess more wide instead of tall. And the reason for that is you have different zones. My idea is you have these 9x9 zones, potentially bigger, depending on the BR and the map. Or you have like objectives. Now, how these objectives will work is they will be, each zone will have like 9+ objectives. So they would have, each of the zones will have like a FOB, forward operator base, and a FOB will have the remotely tested AI anti-tank emplacements. They would also have a makeshift airbase for like the center. It's like the center and the other thing would have a makeshift airbase, probably like slightly further back, depending on how big you want to make it. Although you might drop the makeshift airbase and have it as like the makeshift airbase. I guess makes sense. It's like a forward extra airbase. Anyway, so the objective is to. Reason why capture points, even though people it's still capture points, is because you have two options: capture points and I guess dynamic front lines. But dynamic front lines kind of prevent you from flanking. Like if you see on the map that there's like a red dot like there, a red like circle, you know that there's someone there, so you're more less to do this. But with dynamic capture points, you have like strategic zones, and they could be like this pass here, or the bridge here, or this crossing of the junction, or these crossings that could be a dynamic capture point, or like an overlook in the thing. And you have to get, I believe, I think it's 80% or 72% depending on the thing of the capture point, and also destroy the FOB. And potentially even the airfield also contributes to that. So let's say there's 10, you need to get 7 out of the things to your side, like dynamic capture points, and also get the objective. So once you've destroyed the FOB, what happens? Well, what happens is this area looks, and this area will have more towards, let's say we have Team A and Team 1 and Team 7, we'll say. So Team 1 pushes them to this area. Team 7 now has more defenses. So in the center of their defenses, the AI defenses are balanced. They have the same number of tank resources, whereas Team 1 will get a bit extra tank resources, and they will be in a better position, so they have more tank resources but less AI defenders, because they just had most of their AI defenders quite destroyed. And their goal is to try and break through this. They have to try and destroy objectives, whittle down the defenses. And very difficult in the first time. So they'll probably get pushed back. Now, what happens when they get pushed back to the center? Team 1 gets pushed back to Team 7. Well, the center will have a significantly less. They'll just have the FOBs. They won't have the extra like ambush anti-tank emplacements that you could have. And the FOB will be the spawn point there, and then you'll have the actual depot spawn point or regional operational base, and then the regional airport that you can destroy. So it carries over. So if you get to destroy the regional airport once it unlocks, they will have limited air support. They'll only get a makeshift airport there, which I guess would limit the amount of vehicles or the cost of vehicles of planes. The FOB will destroy the FOB. Well, once you destroy the spawn point, you win. So your goal is to like push through the objectives, get through like anti-tank plane placements, potentially minefields. I don't know how things that, and like objectives that are defended by infantry with anti-tank, like 88 anti-tank emplacements, well, Soviet style anti-tank emplacements, and you'll have a back and forth until one side gets defeated or outflanked, and then regional operation base gets destroyed, and you get rewards. Now, to make this more engaging is one of the things. So one of the best ways of getting past the FOB is also by, if they run out of tickets, is one of the good ways that can happen. So let's say we're doing a, I guess, more Tunisian style oriented thing, and we're playing as Germany, and we have like, in the actual battle it's more of a 6-7 VR. You've got Tigers, Panthers, you've got some Tigers and Panthers are your frontline vehicles, a few further landing areas. Okay, you get destroyed, you and bring out some Tiger 1s as a vehicle. So your lineup of the VR is your main primary best of the best vehicles, but once you've run out of tickets or spawns, you can go back to let's say Tigers, maybe a few Panthers, like 4.0-ish. So it'll be similar to like when you go into a top tier vehicle match and you have like bonus vehicles and stuff. You'll have those bonus vehicles that you can spawn in infinitely and don't have to use spawn points or don't get lost, and you have like 3 different vehicles from like a lower VR. They'll be worse than these vehicles, but you can still do stuff like if you have the Tigers and just the Panther D, or in the 5.7 when you have Panther 4s, like they can still probably hold their ground, but they're going to be less effective. And you go back to about 2.7 where I think will be the limit of how low this game mode can get. And the same thing with the USSR. So if you get pushed back, you use like reserves, like outdated reserves equipment. Now, the reason why I think this needs to be in place is, depending on, let's say, when you get fully lose all your vehicles or something, there could be minutes before the actual operation will be complete, and this gives you something to do, or like have some vehicle that you can actually play around with. This, I think, should not be the case for aircraft, although you could argue it's the case for aircraft, as you can have the tanks to spawn in. So it should not be the case for aircraft, especially if your makeshift army gets destroyed. So okay, you have FOBs, you have this idea. What about rewards? Well, the Operation Realistic will be the same level of rewards as simulator battles, just basic simulator battles. Simulator operation will be more than current any simulator battle, so they'll be incredibly profitable. And since they are incredibly long matches, you get most of the rewards if you stay through and you've actually done, like, I think you could do if you leave during the first phase, you get 40% of the rewards you would have gotten in total. If you leave during the second phase, it's 80%, and then if you stay till the end, or stay till quite a long thing, like you get to the third phase or your base gets destroyed by completion, you've got some back and forwards, maybe 3 different back and forwards, or maybe 4, how you balance it, but the more you play, the more rewards you get, because you can get 3 vehicles that you also have to pay the repair costs for. So can get more kills, more vehicles. You've got your main vehicles like your grinding, which you can, I guess, main vehicles that you're grinding that you can use. All of that combined makes me, I guess, makes it so that I think it will be a lot more fun match. It will be definitely longer. With I think the minimum game length will be like 40 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. Which is I think like the maximum game length for current matches, I think. And then the maximum will be like 2 hours or something. But that's I think it will be very low. I think the average will be like an hour maybe. Yes, and you can I think you should be allowed to like join in progress. Or like open turnovers. Which gives you extra bonus, I guess, if you join in progress, or like you keep 100% of the bonuses up to you rejoin in progress. But yeah, I think that would be an interesting way of spicing things up. And this could go into another thing, which is dynamic campaigns and World War mode. So World War mode could have like a string of these with objectives, general global resource pools, and can make it more complex. But once you go to the operations down, you can have campaigns of like different world wars. You could have Vietnam. I guess Korea would also be a good example. Potential some wars in the Middle East that have both Western and Soviet tanks, and then you can have Cold War gone hot or Pacific War scenarios that you can be done. But that's a future thing. One of the other things is custom battles. So custom battles are quite nice, and I think allowing people to create reward custom battles would be quite good as they'll not to the same extent. Like if you have realistic mode, you'll probably get arcade mode level simulated battles. You'll get realistic mode battles, and then the campaign mode. So you get one tier less rewards, giving you a reason to actually play ground realistic battles. And I think there probably will have to be more likely to prevent XP farms or stuff like that. Although, to be fair, with the number of bots, maybe not. Maybe not. And like things like progress towards achievements will not count in the custom battle. So things like event vehicles, which is another thing that I will mention, which I guess will be in like monetization section, which we'll get into a bit later. But event vehicles, I would argue, I think boosting a few others, and I don't know if it was boosting, but copy and paste event vehicles are, I think, perfectly fine. And the reason why they're perfectly fine is, or like premiums, or like, well, especially with event. Not fully copy and paste, a more like interesting variants of different vehicles, like that has some differences but not the exact same. And the reason why is because if let's say you have, or go to Germany, if let's say you say that this this Panzerhaubitze is just an event vehicle, then you've lost a pretty interesting way of experience, particularly vehicle that many people will be angry about, or the fact that they're the same. So having Leopard 24s, like common land lease vehicles, or things like vehicles that are put on multiple different countries and sold service in multiple different countries as premiums and event vehicles will be interesting, as they might have like different interesting stories behind them. Now, we've gone over the first two problems, which is the grind, which is incredibly long. The game modes, which they are quite boring, and it basically has been the same thing for a very long time. For both ground and air. What's next? Well, what's next is, in my opinion, the monetization. And this is both for like premium time cost and cost of GE vehicles and the cost of GE. For stuff, I think many people have said this, War Thunder is very expensive. So War Thunder store, £70 for a brick. That is literally the cost of GTA 6. And that's not even out. The number of games you can get for the same price is insane. Like, these premiums cost ridiculous when they're not in sale, and a lot when they are in sale. And I think they should be, the 50% sale should be global. And they should be applied to every single vehicle. GE should also be on like 30% off, and then the effect of GE vehicles should also be 50% reduced. So the cost of everything should be, I think, 50% off, except for GE, which should be 30, and same with premium time, which should also be reduced. I think 30 should be fine for premium time. But you get the same value of stuff. Now, the reason why, it's one of the arguments against this is, well, one of the ones is people will complain, but I think that's dumb. Especially if they say, okay, we're in the summer sale. Let's say the summer sale ends in 2 days, and they say, okay, so in the next anniversary sale, which is in October, it won't be a sale, it'll be just a price change across the board to making everything 50% off, or like make these changes be less. And you have, if you buy a vehicle now, you will essentially be paying more than you would have paid in like a few days' time. You have warning, so that's on you. And if you buy a vehicle then, well, then you would get, I guess, a bonus sale of like things or changing in price. You could potentially, if I was gauging, just have a red banner saying everything's now 50% off for the first like 5 days of the thing, saying that these are now the price changes, and then move them to being the default. And then around like Christmas time, which is another sale time, they would have an actual another 50% sale. That changes the price things quite a bit. Like the top tier premium tanks go from £30 to £15 on sale. That's actually feasible. Quite a lot more people will actually buy one, or if you're able to buy stuff previously, you'll buy multiple things. That's kind of the logic behind that. The second thing is there should be a price cap for future things of like £40, or future singular vehicles. That's the key thing. So the only vehicles that I think would be £40 in this scenario would be like things if a future F-35s came out with like 5th gen fighters. Would it come out? Depends. It won't be the F-22, but it would definitely be the F-35. As more nations have it, and more nations could be argued to be given it. And same thing with China's next-gen fighters. So, one of the biggest kickbacks to this is, will Gaijin make, some people think, is, will it be more profitable, Gaijin? Well, in these situations where they have to be forced to make these drastic measures, and I think when they will actually listen to us, is if we actually speak from a word, they saw a massive drop in sales, they saw player counts dip, their revenue, even though people might still play the game, they might decide not to buy things from this. And that, I think, will get them to top, because, okay, the difference, the question is, will they just keep the same prices and have way less sales, or reduce their prices, get like, say that we've listened, we want to change, get some goodwill back, or regain a lot more goodwill if they do it like right now, like the next cycle in the way that I said it, and say we've listened, let's say they watch the video as it uploads and they're like, yeah, we should do this, and then they announce it, and then they get the goodwill back, which I think will increase the sales, because if that were to happen, the reaction from YouTubers is buy a premium, because with reviews like with the F13C and any premium, it's like the review is not to buy them on full price, only buy them sale. When the sale price becomes the regular price, more people will be willing to buy them at the same price. And whether or not, the general thing is that the sales, people will buy multiple things. This has been seen multiple times with like multiple vehicles. Good example of this is general mobile games. Mobile games have small purchases of like £5 or less, and people end up spending like 2k or more. Why? Or like £100 or more. And why? Well, that's simple. Each individual purchase is much easier to justify. It's much easier to justify 3 £15 vehicles instead of one £60 vehicle. Or two, what would be like £17 vehicles, planes, multiple smaller purchases, and you can say, oh, I got more for my money, even though you might have actually ended up spending more, because, okay, the sale price is now £30 by default. Technically end up spending, by both of them you spend up buy 2 vehicles at £30, you can end up spending 1p more. I think that would be much better of a value and much better proposition, in the sense that the thing. Because currently, the reason why currently Gaijin has really just been targeting people that have money. For the people that have a lot of money, aka the people that trade in the marketplace and buy like 2K new car, also computer money, used car and also computer money on like getting actual components. It's those they've already spent a bunch of money. They also probably have a lot more money to spend. That's not really they probably get a lot more goodwill and have more money to spend money when they know that it has more of a future. Which is in a situation where Gaijin listens to it, will have a lot more future. And then for people like more budget conscious, like I did buy premium, but I don't know if I'm fully regretting them or like apprehensive because they are expensive and I don't think I'll buy them for at least the next 5 or 8 years, unless if this happens. And then there are people that just can't afford the £30 premium and don't want to get like lower tier ones, which are also quite expensive and potentially not even on sale. Like 25, 20, 30, 20. They might not have the vehicle that they want on sale. So having the 50% off sale globally and having it those 50% off everything is in the store would be amazing. And I think that's kind of the biggest. They will definitely make more back the money or make the same amount of money, especially if, let's say, content creators realize that it's actually a good thing and they should actually support this changes by actually, changing it from this is only recommending if it's on sale to if you want to play this nation to grind it, then get it now. You can, if you want to get multiple vehicles to get the best money, wait for the sale and get multiple vehicles. Like most of the times, people buy one vehicle for sales, not multiple or multiple different things. So, yeah, that's generally my conclusion with that section of me randomly talking into a wall. So, a recap and summary of the things that I should do in this video. Firstly, I went to do my experience with it. I mean, economy-wise, I have. I'll just switch it back over to economy-wise. I have mostly had quite decent experience with War Thunder. Like, I probably had some issues early on, but once I came back and rejoined everything, I don't really have Silverline issues. But I do have friends who have had Silverline issues, like quite a lot more. Like the same friend that bought me the premium plane had quite big Silverline issues. Whereas for me, I have never really had Silverline issues. I've somehow been able to. I don't know how I've been able to do it, even when I was free to play. If that makes sense. So yeah. So I think general conclusion is for the grind, 50% the cost of everything, including I guess squadron vehicles. That's what they're asking for squadron vehicles. Although you could keep squadron vehicles the same, as they're kind of an extra thing. I do think 50% of the resources. So 50% RP, squadron, and SL cost of everything. Then reduce the cost of GE vehicles by also 50%. Reduce the cost of GE by like 30%. Without any sales and other things. Still have the sales every now and again, like the same way that you normally have them. Reduce the cost of crew to a max cap of 10k, so like some vehicles is like 75% off or more. But I think for like lower tier vehicles, 50%, all the current lines are like tier 1s, I think are fine. It's just when they get ridiculous is the more. It's the same thing like after tier 3, I think they should be, not even tier 3. Tier 3 should be still okay, but tier 4, depending on vehicles, I think they should also be, the cost be reduced. Next up is, another thing is reduce the cost of premiums by 50%. Like the sale thing, do it in a way where you announce it at the next sale time. Those prices will be, instead of a limited time sale, those new prices will be every vehicle, including the new release ones, at a reduced price. At the 50% price, you can have the red banners, but you just don't have the daytime. So, it's now the new price. You have it for like a few days, a few weeks, saying, "Hey, this is now a new change of the sale." Get publicity, get YouTubers say that you've changed, you've got new leadership, or you've listened to the community and you've realized that the cost of living crisis, people will end up buying less or spending less money on a game, because if, let's say, I did buy stuff at sales and I'm struggling with food and stuff, I'm not. War Thunder premiums are the thing I'm going to drop more often than not. Like, if I had an Xbox, I don't have one, I would be more likely to get GTA 6 than get the War Thunder premium, even on sale, or get different games I want to play, because the value of War Thunder premiums is kind of incredibly low. That's the only reason why they're valuable, is because the grind is so heavy. Okay. Then there are game modes. I would say allow for custom games to give RP by a reduced amount, and also allow for introduce a new realistic mode called Operation, I think was what they called it, and then have World War where you've got campaigns that have multiple different operations or like global conflicts and like different events they could do. Another thing, as I did mention, some people think they should stop developing infantry mode. I think infantry mode could add a bunch of stuff like custom battles. Like, I think I forgot to mention this, but I don't think they should. I think they should put it on the back burner, still have like changes, not rush to release it to actually like get more stuff for people to grind. Have like the handling, maybe update the engine, modify some engine stuff to actually make it handle better. Because infantry is more like the tanks that are modified tanks in this game engine. Like, have borrow stuff from the enlisted team, I guess, in terms of code. Right, so put it in the back burner, because with custom battles, with like campaign mode, having campaigns, I guess more armor style campaigns where you could be in the back of your IFV with supporting tanks with drone strikes and drone things and stuff like that, would be a lot more doable when like playing realistic battles of that with all the extra stuff and having drones and actually having tanks that actually handle over on like games like Battlefield. The tanks are quite, let's just say, not the best, because I think the biggest thing that Wolf has the advantage of is they are realistic in quite good, decent ways. Like, the damage was quite good. There are some things like, yes, people do gripe about them, but you don't run it on a supercomputer, so you can't fully model physics. If that makes sense. But generally, they're quite good. It's not like hit points like World of Warcraft and things like Battlefield where their tank handling is bad. So that's why I think infantry should still be developed. Put it on the side burner, or have it like not be the main theme, because you want to introduce new game modes to actually make the game fun, and then add infantry and then allow custom battle infantry with rewards, because I think that's when infantry is going to shine the most. Like, having a campaign, like a community-driven campaign, more armor-style community-driven campaigns, or less I guess armor-style is not the full complete third, because yes, you could have armor-style community-driven campaigns, but they also have a lot more plug and play, plug and drop, because you've got, at the end of the day, the only way I see War Thunder being dead irredeemably, like, there is no way forward, no way of bringing back the War Thunder IP, even if, let's say, Gaijin doesn't do any of these changes, and it goes out of drain, and Gaijin, that nobody decides to step in or intervene, or in fact, that the only way I can see War Thunder fully dying to the point of being irredeemable, like, nobody can bring it back. It's not that they don't want to, it's if the player data gets true. Because I've spent 2,007 hours, I've spent decent bit of money, I've spent so much time in the game, and I can always like go back in like a few years down the line, have the stuff already still be here, be able to, at the end of the day, come back to War Thunder. If, let's say, I take a break, or many people take a break, and then we actually implement these changes to make War Thunder good, and then I see videos of people going about these really good positive changes, and that if you're a veteran player or have played and left the game, that there are new stuff, you can always come back to where you left off. There'll be new stuff, there'll be probably new vehicles, new events, new things that you might have missed. But at the end of the day, you don't. As long as you've already got the stuff that you've got to, as long as you've got all the vehicles that you've got to pay for, War Thunder can still be saved. That's kind of the reason why I think Gaijin should really listen to us, because I feel like Gaijin is treating this game as it will die in the next sort of years. They have been trying to squeeze the dry, but they don't realize that they are in a ever increasing farm. Like if they let the cows go out to multiply, have more cows, then they will end up getting more milk, and then they're taking less. I feel like Wolf and Egg could be less of a zero-sum game in terms of the reward where money is spent, and they can actually offer better value because we don't come back because we want to buy new figures. We don't come back. We come back for those rare moments of fun in the game. Those times when we hit an epic thing or like, yeah, sniper or that kind of dopamine. And if that dopamine hit gets more and the grind gets lessened, then more people play it. And I think some people have gone over the new play grind, but I think if you reworking the tutorial with everything, but if you lessen the difficulty of getting through, you make the game more fun and less of a grinding sim. And I still think new player will be more likely to get into it because when you're a new person, you don't want to be playing BT5 reserve players. You want to get to the thing, and if you find out that you're making much more progress or you're going to get a lot closer, you're more likely to get and play. Let's say if you want to play the IS, play the IS. Now, granted, it does have a high skill curve, and there's not many ways of fixing that, but maybe with like uploading the tutorial and improving stuff. I guess the moving of the armor penetration stuff and the extra stuff to help tools that you with third-party fire is quite good. Things like tank pulling and things like that, if they had a built-in version of that where you can test your vehicle shells against things, that would also be nice for new players. But I think the new player experience is less of the biggest problem because yes, new player experience is important, but if the new player experience is bad, and then it's a nightmare grind that you have to look over to, and people saying that you have essentially to get everything in the game. If you don't spend money, it's like 40 years, I think. If you play it casually, 20 years if you play it less casually or for premium, and like it goes down to 10 or 8 years or whatever. You have to play years of the game. They're not going to continue playing. They're going to say, okay, the experience is bad and the grind is painful. I don't want to spend money on a terrible crappy game that I've never played. So I think we should generally the stuff that would get new old returning players like actual new game, it's the things I've just mentioned, will also help new players out in the sense that they will draw more new players. They will get more new players to continue playing. But yeah, that's generally been my tangent. I think all of these are possible by Gaijin, but what do I know? Literally just a small channel that will just made a almost 50-minute long video going on about remembering some issues of War Thunder. A bit more condensed than my last time. That was about an hour and 20 minutes. And there's a good chance Gaijin won't see this. There's a good chance multiple people will not see this video. But hey, might as well get this out there. If Gaijin does see this, if a bunch of people who does see this, if you got your own ideas of what to improve War Thunder by doing, then please let me know in the comments. If you're a Gaijin employee and have actually taken this out and think about implementing this, let me also know in the comments. Or send me an email. Yeah, that's just generally been my ideas. And I think it is quite doable and quite plausible for it to be effective. Anyway, I will see you later. Next time I get around to make a video, but probably not today because my voice is quite a bit tired for talking for so long. I'll see you next time. Adios.